President Biden on his way to Seattle right now after a whirlwind trip to the Bay Area.
Yeah, he left just about an hour ago. Air Force One lifted off from Moffett Field just before 3:30 this afternoon. President Biden heading north. First Lady Jill Biden was also in the Bay Area briefly at a different campaign event last night. She's making fundraising stops in LA and Phoenix today. It was a profitable trip in the Bay Area for the president as he spent the afternoon with donors and traveled through a few pockets of unhappy protesters.
NBC Bay Area's Robert Handa joins us from Moffett Field in Mountain View, where the president boarded Air Force One and is now headed out. Robert.
Well, that's right. You know, Joe Biden is the president, so obviously every trip is a presidential trip. But this was about Joe Biden, the candidate, with no public events and 2 lucrative fundraisers. President Biden arrived in the Bay Area last night and hit the campaign fundraising trail running today. In fact, all the video provided by the traveling press corps basically showed the presidential motorcade on the move. First to Portola Valley for a high-dollar fundraiser at the home of tech billionaire Vinod Khosla. Tickets for that event ranged from $6,600 to $100,000, and we're told about 80 people in attendance for the president's 16-minute stump speech. Pool reports show the speech focused on the president's record and some very sharp barbs at former President Trump. A cluster of supporters also gathered outside to try to get a glimpse.
It's an honor to see a sitting president, and I'm very happy with what Biden's doing.
Free Palestine! But supporters were soon joined by protesters as a coalition of pro-Palestinian groups and individuals gathered to try and get the president and donors' attention as they drove by.
Biden cannot come into town scooping up big bucks from billionaires and not be held accountable for his role in the genocide of Palestinians at this time.
He continues to go about his day worried about his election in November, not looking towards what the masses actually want him to do and how we could actually get votes by listening to the individuals who will actually vote for him in November.
Despite tight control by the Secret Service and law enforcement, protesters tried to partially block the road as the motorcade left, but the cars never slowed down. The motorcade proceeded to Palo Alto and the home of former Yahoo and Google executive Marissa Mayer for another fundraiser. Tickets for that event ran from $40,000 to $50,000 apiece. Pro-Palestinian demonstrators showed up outside this event as well, with some trying to impede the motorcade as it left, but again, never managed to slow the president down. Minutes later, the president was back at Moffett Field, preparing to fly to Seattle, but not before stopping to pose with CHP officers who helped him stay on schedule. Some people we talked to outside the 2 Bay Area locations were nonchalant about this presidential visit.
I think it's inevitable.
Inevitable in what way?
That he wouldn't leave such a pocket of wealth untapped.
The president did not leave the Bay Area untapped. It is, after all, historically a major source of campaign money. Again, he is now headed to Seattle for more campaign receptions. Live at Moffett Field, Robert Handa, NBC Bay Area News.
Okay, thank you, Robert. And as he just showed us, protesters did make their voices heard at both President Biden's events today. The demonstrators, as you heard, are calling for a ceasefire and for the U.S. also to pull funds from Israel. Tensions are around the world escalating as negotiations for a ceasefire continue to stumble.